All right, just another quick, brief overview. Um, eating costs calories. Eating costs calories. Calories to chew, swallow, churn the stomach, make the acid in the stomach, make the enzymes, um, contractions. Anyway, there are three names for this phenomena. Okay, the expenditure of calories to consume your food, absorb your food, digest your food, etc., etc. Dietary induced thermogenesis, DIT, thermal effect of food, TEF, and specific dynamic action, SDA. It says here on the average, a person uses about 10% of their daily energy expenditure digesting and absorbing food, but this percentage changes depending on the type of food you eat. And of course, protein takes the most energy of all to digest, requiring like 20 to 30% of the total calories available in what you just consumed. All right? So, this is why when bodybuilders, when we diet, and like I said, there are a lot of ways to diet. Some people do this because it's already structured for them in a diet that's been put together by someone else. And if they think about it, it is what's happening, and it's how their diet's actually working. And it's how we often believe we grow into shows at times. Because when you go to diet down, your protein goes up percentage-wise. Protein, I require more protein, higher protein, to diet down and get lean than what I require just to get big or to maintain. I can gain muscle on much less protein daily than where I'll set that number when I'm trying to diet down, because I just become an incinerator. I've said this so many times, probably 50 times on videos, that I turn that protein up and just turn into an incinerator. It's so true. Anyway, after protein, caloric expenditures, which macros are most costly or types of food. Carbohydrates come in next at like 10%, right? And then fats are last. Fats take almost nothing. They require almost nothing to digest, 0% to 3% or whatever to digest. And so that's why it's so easy to wear the fat that you eat. That's why. It doesn't require anything for you to absorb and digest and absorb and store that fat. Very little caloric expenditure there. So do you understand where this goes? So a larger percentage of the amount of food you've just eaten, if it's in the form of a fat, will end up making it to the cellular level than if it were protein. Simple as that, okay? So then this comes into play again when people try to say you can only absorb X amount of protein per meal. Okay, well, from what source of protein? Because it's all different. It's all different depending on my source of protein. Is it going to be, if I go with some kind of a processed thing, I'm going to be able to absorb more of that. That's more easily assimilated than, okay, like a protein shake, very easily assimilated, much more easily assimilated than, say, a chicken breast. I mean, it's just make of it what you will. And that's why if you're trying to get big, you really want to eat, if your number one concern is to gain the size, gain the muscle, hopefully, but gain the size, if it's your number one concern, if that is more important than how healthy the food choices you're making are, and I'm not saying you're making terribly unhealthy choices, but you're not making the most healthy of choices. If you're willing to make that compromise, it's going to be easier for you to get big. It's simple. Because then you would eat more processed sources of protein. You would eat more protein supplements and drinks. You would go with more liquid nutrition. because you're going to more easily absorb that than you are if you're not going to burn as many of the calories in the process. Whereas with the whole foods, your body has to work harder. Not as much of it is going to get where you need it to go, because some of it's going to be consumed. A noticeable percentage, 20-30% of it is going to be consumed just in the process of you picking it up off of the plate on your fork, sticking it in your mouth and chewing it up and swallowing it and going through the whole digestive process, and then absorbing whatever of it remains available. You're not going to get as large a percentage of the calories into the body where you need them to stay. They're not going to be left over, in other words, as it would if you went with something more processed or something liquid. So, yeah, it might be painful to hear, but that's the harsh reality. That's the reality. And that's where, no matter how much people want to tell you that protein drinks and supplements, that they're worthless and all, they're not worthless, man. This is why I tell you, this is a different game. This is a different game than what, these guys that are telling you about how to improve your bench, or, 5x5 programs, or how to squat and how to deadlift and, weight training. It's a different story. Hypertrophy specific training is a whole different thing. It incorporates diet, and it's more than just a training. And the diet is the ideal diet to get big and gain muscle like that is going to be less healthy foods. Sorry. If you doubt it, then just Google any of this stuff. Read some of the studies. I've cited the studies in videos previously. You can look my videos up. Search on my channel here, our channel here, and look for dietary induced thermogenesis, and check the studies out for yourself. Look up DIT or TEF or SDA, specific dynamic action of foods, and figure it out for yourself. It's very simple. And that's why when, if you got a really skinny guy and I say, yeah, hell yeah, drink a gallon of milk a day, you'll put size on, it's a no-brainer. Why? Because it's liquid, it's readily available, more easily assimilated, easy to absorb. Not to mention that it's just a really nice slow trickle, almost like an IV, continuous source of protein as it digests throughout the whole damn day. And the body much more prefers to have a continuous supply than it would like a chunk here and a long period in between and a chunk there, if you're going specifically to get big. Plus, if you're a skinny guy like I was when I started out, I'm talking about skinny. And skinny to me, defined skinny is going to be probably somebody that's kind of underweight, not just lean, underweight. Skinny, lean and skinny aren't the same thing in my book. Skinny means you're like spindly looking, bony, perhaps, somewhat. You're going to be hard, of course, because you're not fat. You're not going to get fat, brother. Drinking a gallon of milk a day, the last thing you need to worry about is getting fat. It's not going to creep up on you for one thing. Like overnight, it's not going to sneak attack. You're going to wake up in the morning and be fat all of a sudden. That's not going to happen. And the other thing is, like in my case, when I was young, and I was like 147 pounder when I first got into it, all the way up until the time I was like 170. I had to fight and claw for those gains. I didn't, and I went with the gallon milk a day thing, and that really put the size on me. And it wasn't any problem. It wasn't like I could even get fat if I was trying. My metabolism was so fast I could eat anything, and lots of it. Anyway, unless you want to, study physiology and biology and nutrition and shit, just, then go ahead and do that. Make a whole long, daunting task out of it all and how much shit you got to learn before you can even put your diet together, or else just start eating some friggin' food. Eat till the scale moves. Eat till the scale moves, and then look at what you're gaining, and adjust your macros accordingly. Keep it simple. Keep it simple. Now, yeah, when I diet down, yeah, it gets a little complicated. I could just cut calories and lose everything, but I don't. I dig my hole in the back end. I don't reduce intake or input. I don't cut the input back. What I do is I turn up the output. So I'm still creating a caloric deficit. It's just on the other side. I'm not starving anything in the process. I'm burning, I'm working it off, I'm not starving it off. And if you create a caloric deficit from the beginning, on the inside, and what you're feeding yourself, if you're cutting that back and reducing that, you're starving it off. Plain and simple, man. How else you going to describe that? All right, that's it.